Hey, welcome back everybody. It's Don again. I'm out in the garage again, and I'm just doing my darndest to keep this Jeep CJ project moving along smoothly, but it is not going all that smooth. I have a couple of issues. Some of the vendors don't have inventory of the stuff that they say they have. Even Quadratec's doing a much better job than Morris 4x4 was doing, but even still, some of the stuff that they tell me is coming is not coming. I did get a couple of boxes here, which we'll go through in a minute. But the box that's holding me up a fair amount is one that's coming from Eastwood.com, and it's coming by way of FedEx. And what FedEx has told me is it was delivered to me 2.5 weeks ago or something like that. It wasn't. They said it was in a building I could go pick it up. It wasn't. Then they told me it was in a trailer moving between the North Salt Lake and the Glendale, Utah locations. I don't know if that's true or not. Then they told me it was on a trailer with 200 other trailers that needed to be unloaded that were all backed up because of the big storm. They were flying people in to unload those trailers. Don't know if I believe that or not. And then yesterday morning when I called them, they said, oh, it's on the truck out for delivery. It did not get delivered. So I don't have those parts. I need them. I don't have them. I have ordered the little socket, the special socket to take those threaded inserts out of the front of my Dana 30 knuckles so I can get my ball joints in there. I've got everything else I need except that special little 4-pronged socket to take those inserts out. Unfortunately, I don't think that's what's in that little box. I think I was looking as I was kind of going through what they said had been delivered, and I was like, oh, that's not what I desperately needed. So what I have on tap for this weekend, I do actually have this big box on the bottom of the stack here, is all new brakes to go on the Dana 44 rear end. And if you recall last week when I had one of these tires off, I showed you I really have nothing on there in terms of brakes. So it's good that the whole kit came with everything new, because my brand new threaded, hard brake lines will thread into the little cylinder on there. So I'll work on that this weekend. I do plan on pulling U-joints out of my axle shafts on the front, because I did order new U-joints for the axle shafts on the front as well. So as I'm getting all that stuff ready to bolt back together, I'll do that. So I did start painting up the kind of intermediate painted area of the hubs, and I have the rest of the hubs over there on the bench ready to be rebuilt with, just basically gaskets and stuff. So I should be able to get the hubs put back together, or ready to be put back together with new gaskets and everything, when I can get the knuckles done, get the new ball joints in there. And then I know that we're gonna do Sam's Minis brakes this weekend as well. So it's a hard stop weekend. We're gonna be putting a lot of brakes on so we can get stuff to stop. Other than that, we're just kind of twiddling our thumbs and trying to be patient with these vendors, but I'm starting to run out of patience. So come on along, let's get busy. Let's see if we can get some brakes done on these things, and a couple of other little things, and I'll show you what we do as we do it. And hopefully we'll get something accomplished this weekend. All right, well, I thought I'd show us these U-joints for the axle shafts. So there is a retaining clip on the inside there. Hopefully you can see that okay, if I can keep the light out of the way of the camera, or vice versa. So I've got the first one kind of loose in there. You can see this one on this side. I just stuck a screwdriver in there and caught it under the lip. Got it to come out that way. In fact, let's see if I can do that with this one. Let's see if we can do this without blinding ourselves. Nope. I just was trying to see if I could get the... All right, stand by. Okay, well, I got all these little half C clips off, so they go down in there. And what I'm doing now is I've just got this yoke sitting on the vise, and I'm pounding a little bit right there, which is forcing that cap up out. All right, well, I've got one of the U-joints out. So that is the U-joint, and you can see all the tiny little needle bearings, which I hate those things. I've, in my lifetime, have probably had to do 24 U-joints at some point or other, sometimes laying on the side of the road up in Montana. It's never a handy place when they blow apart. But anyway, so this is the short side and the long side of the driver's side shaft. This short side had this metal sleeve and then this rubber sleeve and then this other little rubber sleeve kind of up here at the end. So just took those off, and I'm getting ready to start to clean this up a little bit, do my painting thing. Okay, so I got interrupted when I was working on the U-joints. You heard how noisy it got. Well, Samantha was just showing up and opened up the garage door in the middle of my conversation with you. So I really didn't show you how I got those U-joints out. So let me just spin back around here, and I'll show you just in case you've never done U-joints before. So basically, these little caps are on the ends of the U-joints. And if we look really closely at the cap, you can see that little lip there. That is where that retainer clip slips into there. So basically the cap goes through the hole in the yoke, and when it's all the way pressed in there, then a little half moon clip goes inside of the yoke on that face in there, and is actually on the cup of the U-joint. So that's holding that cup in place. So what you do to get them apart is you basically just kind of get a screwdriver in there and push that clip off. It's just a little half moon clip. So once you get a hold of it with the screwdriver, it pops right out of there, and you can just pull it the rest of the way out. And then what I was doing in the vise was I had one yoke sitting here and the vise open enough so that the other yoke could be forced down. And you basically just kind of take a hammer and wrap it here, so you're shoving this yoke down, which is making that U-joint push up, and it's pushing that cap up out of the hole. So you get that one up about all the way, and then you flip the whole mess over, go the other direction, shove the other cap up out until you can get a hold of them, either knock them clear out or get a hold of them with some pliers or something and pop them the rest of the way out. Then you repeat that on your other side of your yoke to get the other set out, and you wind up with two open yokes like this, and then the U-joint can actually fit in between and go in there like that, or come out. So that's how you get it in and out. When you're putting it back together, you obviously have your cap off. You put it in there. We're going to repeat the process and just push the new cap in from the end. Now the thing about the new cap is it's going to be full of those little needle bearings in there. I think you can see one laying in the bottom and one sticking up against the side. They will all be all around the side. And I have not figured out the perfect way to manage those, except just be dang careful when you're doing it, because you don't want to drop those all out of there. The grease is what's holding them in place. So as long as you keep them in there, you're all good. And you just kind of, then you're going to press your caps back in from both sides, and going to have a new U-joint in place. So hopefully that makes sense. It's tough to kind of show you that while I'm doing it. So hopefully that kind of explains enough. Like I said, it seems like every time I've ever had to do U-joints, I've been laying in the road and on the side of the road in the mud, in the snow, whatever. So working on a bench like this is actually not too bad doing it. But and usually it's the ones on the drive shaft, which you're not pressing all the way out. You're just undoing your loop, and then basically it will come up out of the yoke of the drive shaft, because they're not solid full circle like that. They're open on the top. So, well, I won't show you on the yoke over there. But anyway, I just wanted to explain how I got to this point. So obviously some time has elapsed since I've done that. I've got my paint on these, and I'll be throwing these away, and my new U-joints should be getting here. Well, I don't know. It seems like FedEx has resorted to horse and buggy to get stuff across the country, so I'm not sure I'm going to make any predictions about when my stuff is going to get here, if it's coming by FedEx. but hopefully soon, hopefully next week. I haven't ordered anything this week new, so hopefully everything's going to catch up and finally get here, and I'll be back on track with parts and pieces and stuff. So anyway, there you go. There's a little education on U-joints. Oh, hey there. So I just thought I'd show you real quick what I got in one of these boxes. So I got this little package of basically all-purpose universal bump stops. Let me show you where I'm going with that. Is hopefully you'll be able to see this okay, but this bracket right here had a square bump stop that was supposed to hit the axle if the axle came up too far here. And nowhere that I look in any online catalog or anything do I find that bumper listed, that bump stop. I don't know what else to call it except front axle bump stop, so I could not find any. So I did find just those round universal ones. I'm going to slap one of those on there and that will have to work. So once in a while you have to improvise a little bit, especially when you're calling your project a resto mod. So resto mod, what a weird word. Anyway, so I'm gonna stick that on, then I'll crack open the box of brake stuff and show you what we got in there. Okay, let's open up our box of brakes and see what we got here, shall we? So, here's our new drums. Got pads to go inside of the drums. Springs and associated doodads to hold all that stuff together. And not the little cylinders. And I don't see the little hydraulic cylinder unless that's what's in here, but I don't think that's what's in. I think this is the adapter or the threaded thing that kind of spaces your pads out. So go like that basically. So, damn it. There's always something that, you know, you look at these parts and you're ordering them and you're sure you have everything and then you get it and you don't. So I bet I can source those right here in town though. It's just the little cylinder that presses apart that pushes your brake pads apart in there when you're stepping on the brakes. So I'll see about those, but I think even without those I can start to get this stuff buttoned up. So I'm going to pull this tire that you're sitting on off the Jeep and get started on this and see how it looks. I'll bring you along to show you what we do. All right, well, I have been painting parts like a madman here, so I'll just give you a quick glance. These are the hub parts that I was talking about. I painted one of my drums, that's new, with some caliper paint. That's the backing plate. I just have primer on that so far, and I've only done the one side. And then I ran around to pretty much every auto parts store in town trying to get the parts that did not come in the kit. I got the little brake cylinders. And what I also didn't get in the kit is the little self-adjusting kind of little screw thing with the star wheel on it. So I did get those. I'm still missing or lacking the parking brake cable that comes in through the drum. And I'm not sure that it'll be easy to put those on after the fact. It's been a little while since I've done back brakes. I did them on the other one, and I don't remember if I'll be able to put that in after I get it all done. But I'm going to move forward. I think you saw that I had pulled the axle shaft out so that I could get that backing plate off of there. So I picked up some bearing grease. I'll slap a little grease on that, start to get that ready to go back in there. So things are moving along, but I've been driving around to all the different auto parts stores. A lot of parts stores, just don't carry parts for vehicles this old. And Napa has a pretty big warehouse downtown, but I'd gone to their 90th South one, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, we got them. They're downtown at the warehouse." So ran down there. So I've been back and forth both ends of the valley getting parts. But I got a little pile of parts ready to go, so I'm going to jump back in and continue on, see if I can at least get this thing ready to button up and get out of the way, because Sam drives her car every day, so we got to get it in and get it out tomorrow without delay. So the Jeep can be pushed aside if need be, and so that's where I'm at right now. So I'll set you somewhere where you can kind of look over my shoulder, and we'll see if we can't start getting at least one side of these brakes put back together. Well, I think I might need your help here. So let me just tell you what's going on. I haven't put the nuts on the top of the shocks on the back end here. I have in the front, but I bought these shocks pretty much just before I put this Jeep out of service. So they're mechanically pretty much brand new. Well, not brand new, but they're pretty new. They maybe have a season on them at that. So they're Rancho RS9000s. They're the model that has the little adjustable valve on there, so you can change them. You have 5 different firmness settings. So let me just show you what I'm dealing with here, though, is they don't look all that great. So they got a little, grease and dirt. I think that's just dirt, but a little bit of kind of the white paint is gone. And so on the one hand, I'm thinking pull them off, pull the boots off of them and paint them. On the other hand, I'm going, good Lord, Don, are you ever going to stop here and just leave something alone on this thing? But if I paint them, these RS9000 5-speed stickers are all just stickers. Actually, looks like maybe the stickers are getting beat up, so I could just peel those off, I guess. But I'm not going to have a new set of stickers to put on there. So we'll never know what they are ever again. I mean, I'll know and you'll know, but I'm just wondering if it's worth it to pull them off, go get me some white paint and, sand them a little where they're rusty there and maybe slap a coat of primer on them and paint them. Or if I should just stop being so obsessive compulsive and move on. So you get a vote on this one. Leave me a comment down below there. What would you do if this was your Rust-O mod project? You've seen how much work I've done so far and how I've kind of tried to address everything on this thing. So whoever winds up driving this Jeep for the next 20 years is going to be driving a brand new Jeep. Paint the shocks, replace the shocks. I'd be interested to know what you think of those Rancho 9000s. I kind of always like the idea of being able to change the valving a little bit on them. I know it's not great, but when those first came out, you could even pull the little knob off there and put some air compressed thing up in the cab. I never thought about doing that, but I did kind of think that there were times when I felt like I wanted to have the front end riding a little bit on the little bit firmer setting than the rear end. So do you have an opinion on that? If so, let me know what you think. If you would have asked me 6 months ago if I had much of an opinion on spray paint, I'd have said, nah, it's all the same. I got to tell you, it is not all the same. So I've got some Krylon paint over there, and I just painted these disc brake or the drum brake backing plates and just my ends of my axle shafts and so forth with this Rust-Oleum flat black. And I got to tell you, I do not like this stuff. It takes forever to dry. I mean, I got the little heater going on here and it's not cold. I mean, it's like 60 degrees outside, but I just been blowing the little heater on these things to try to get them dry so I can, do the other side and whatever. And this stuff just takes forever. So that's flat black that I just painted on there. And it just stays shiny and gooey and stuff for forever. And if you get too much on there, runs and drips off because it doesn't start to cure very fast. And so I had a coat of primer underneath there, that self-etching green primer, and then I just put a coat of this flat black on there, and I'll just leave it out here all night with this little heater blowing on it to try to get the things dried out. But I'm just not a fan of that Rust-Oleum stuff. So note to self, next time you're at the store shopping for paint, Krylon seems to go on pretty quick and set up pretty fast. I just used some Duplicolor caliper paint that I got at the O'Reilly's down here to do the drums, and that stuff sets up pretty quick. I mean, this looks shiny like it's still wet, but it's nice and dry. I wouldn't dare touch this thing for 2 hours now. So there you have it. There's my opinion on spray paint, just in case you care. All right, well, it's tomorrow morning, finally. The paint, that flat black I was complaining about yesterday, is finally dry. So what I've done is I've slipped this backing plate back over the bearing and the seal. Bearing looks fine. I'm going to put a little bearing grease on it, and then we'll stuff that back in and bolt her back up, and then we can start doing our brakes. So I think I might be able to set you down somewhere so you can kind of watch, and we'll see if we can get this thing put back together. Okay, well, just a quick little wrap up on the weekend here. So we had good success getting Samantha's disc brakes done on her back end of her little Mini. Just had to scratch our heads a couple times and went through that process. I started on the back brakes of the Jeep, as you saw, and I just had to stop. Well, why did I stop? I stopped because I got the little wheel cylinder kit, and I expected it to have these little pins in there. This is the little pin that goes into the cylinder on this side and then pushes out against the brake pad with this side. And one of those was missing in the old rusty old brake cylinder from when I took everything off. You know, it just sticks in it through a rubber boot, and so I think it just lost one somewhere along the way. I had looked through all the boxes of parts over here, hadn't found one, so had to track this down around town. I did find some, so now I've got a couple. I can get back to the brake process here. But it's towards the end of the day on Sunday, and we've done a fair amount of mechanicking, so I'm about done for the day. When we next tear into this, I do have now, I think, all the parts to get the brakes put back together on the back. The front brakes are coming like all the rest of the parts, they'll get here when they get here and not a day before. But I should at least be getting my little 4-prong socket so that I can get those knuckles off, so I can get the ball joints replaced, because that's kind of been just hung for a while here. So not a bad day, not everything done we wanted to do, but I slapped the tire back on this thing, as you can see here, because there was no real point in leaving it sitting off, and I did have to get it back where I could get the floor jack so we could get under the Mini with that. But there we have it. So I'm going to wrap this up for the weekend, and next time you see me, hopefully we'll be having a little bit better luck with the back brakes, and might even get some parts to finish up the front brakes and the front end. So we'll watch for that. For right now, though, I'll just say again, thanks for watching. Drop me a comment down in the bottom, tell me what you think of this process, and I will see you next week.